you do insult them, that simply means you lack home training. Even if they are wrong, it is not in your place to disagree with them in that open. You have to do it respectfully. So to them, somebody like Nnamdi Kanu is so rude. They are not listening to his points. Everything is pointing out and is being shut down. Everything is pointing out under the law in a court. In a court of law, you are quoting the laws. The judge who should be attentive to what you're saying, continue to shut you down, ignore your this, and then others are now using your reactions as a means of why the judge got upset. Not because you violated any law, because there's no law to convict Nnamdi Kanu. And that's why we'll keep reminding you that no matter what you have read, no matter what you believe, since these prosecutors couldn't actually bring people to say, Nnamdi Kanu sent me this money to get this, and that. Nnamdi Kanu bought us this. Nnamdi Kanu gave me this order to do this and that. These are the supposed facts that should be presented before a judge, not video broadcast. You would expect that by now they will produce those people that said they watched Nnamdi Kanu. That's why they went to go and burn police station. That's why they go and burn this or burn that. The government was supposed to present those people because they should have arrested them, right? And then make them witnesses to say, yes, it was Nnamdi Kanu's broadcast that got them this. None of that is presented. They are covering their thugs as well as their policemen. They were wearing mufti, not uniforms, so killing Nigerians during NSAS. Now, they want Nnamdi Kanu as the scapegoat. And they couldn't even do that perfectly well by relaxing to look for a particular law they could use against him. Here you get, they are practicing what is called double jeopardy. And to make it worse, the travesty of justice, miscarriage of justice, right? To make his own appeal more difficult, they sent Nnamdi Kanu to Sokoto. Now, if you have to drive from Abuja to Sokoto, it may take you up to 11 to 12 hours due to bad roads and all of that before you finally get to the place. Or maybe when you fly, you can reduce the hours of your travel to maybe about 5 or 6 hours. It is that intentional. Nnamdi Kanu exposed the caliphate, the political, the politics of religion, where they are deceiving people who share the same similar religion with them before they kill them. So, okay, why would they kill others? Nnamdi Kanu exposed all of this. It was supposed to be a whistleblower. Then they decided to actually scale or kick off what they call the unknown gunmen, and escalated the insecurity in the eastern part of Nigeria. Yet they still couldn't pick people who are victims of this insecurity in the eastern part of Nigeria that they could present as witnesses and say it was because of Nnamdi Kanu. They couldn't do any of that. They couldn't do their own research from their own laws to find a perfect one they can use to try Nnamdi Kanu. They have been holding him for 7 years of the last 10 years, only to convict him on an unknown law. Unknown law. You get? His lawyer, by the way, Ejimako.
But right now, what we are faced with, or what everybody should be concerned about, is the post-judgment regime. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu still retains his constitutional right to fair hearing under Section 36 of the Constitution. That constitutional right is going to be expressed before the Court of Appeal. Or perhaps there could be some post-judgment maneuvers that could be made before the High Court. But for now, it is well known to the whole world and to the court, the High Court, and to everybody else who is a stakeholder in this case, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has no legal counsel. So as I speak, he still represents himself. But see, after the sentencing, I was surprised, and I think everybody else who was monitoring this case was surprised that he was plucked from Abuja and taken all the way to Sokoto, which is in the northernmost part of northwest Nigeria. So you begin to ask, how can he effectively prosecute his appeal, or even take the initial steps towards initiating his appeal. Initiating an appeal is not an easy thing to do. He has to file a notice of appeal. He has to request for the transcripts of the record of proceedings before the High Court, pay for them, review them, and do all sorts of things, all sorts of activities that will now play out before the Court of Appeal. And these things require his personal, physical presence to get these things accomplished, unless he hires a lawyer. And up to this point, he hasn't indicated that he's going to hire any lawyer, or he has not made known to anybody that he has hired any lawyer. So you begin to wonder whether he will be able to prosecute this appeal from his prison location in Sokoto. The Sokoto division of the Court of Appeal doesn't have jurisdiction over this case. It's the Abuja division. So putting him in Sokoto, I know it's true. It is not the fault of the judge. It is the fault of the executive branch. Once someone is sentenced, it becomes the property of the executive branch, in particular the correctional service. So that decision to put him in Sokoto perhaps did not take into account these concerns that I'm expressing. It is very insensitive to his rights. Prisoners do have rights. That you are in prison doesn't mean you have lost your rights under Chapter 4 of Nigerian Constitution, your fundamental rights, in particular Section 36, which is really what is relevant now. Can Nnamdi Kanu effectively prosecute his appeal or even initiate it from that location in Sokoto? The answer is no. So what I think may play out in the coming days or weeks is to seek ways and means of ameliorating the detention conditions. The judge did not particularly order that he be detained in Sokoto. There was only one prison in Nigeria that was excluded, and that was the Kuje prison. But, you know, if you check around Abuja area, the environs, there are other prisons in the vicinity. We have one in Suleja, we have in Kefi, and there are probably other prisons within 2 hours of Abuja. Those prisons would have been much better locations for detaining Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to ensure that he's close enough to his relatives who are known to be in Abuja, his legal consultants if he wants to deploy their services. Also, is also very close to the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which has jurisdiction over this matter, and so on and so forth. So we're looking at a situation where his right to appeal is being complicated by the current location of his imprisonment.
All right, Mr. Ajimako,
which is intentional. So to those of you who are like the spectators in all of this, with your own prejudices and all of that, do you really think this is fair? I mean, there are some of you who just wanted him to be killed. Go and kill him, this and that. Or even if you have to kill him under your law, you still have to follow the procedure. You still have to follow a process. He still has to exhaust any legal whatever that the law gives him. But they don't want that. So they are still going to tell you that he's playing hide and seek, is the one who is delaying his case without telling you all these legal lacunas that they intentionally put as roadblocks. The thing is, they want him to fall sick slowly and die. Or when he's about to die, then they will let him go. Something that will have a very, very dangerous repercussions, by the way. And you can join them to say nothing will happen. Okay. Because like somebody like Oji Uzokalu, the ex-convict, who said he stood as a guarantor or surety for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu the last time he was released on bail from the Kuje prison, remember? So right now he's now appealing to the Igbos to not react and remain calm and other things that will actually get you angry, especially if you are Igbo. Watching this, listen to Senator from Abia, the former governor there, also an ex-convict, by the way, Oji Uzokalu.
Thank you. Senator, now that Nnamdi Kanu has been sentenced to life imprisonment, how do you assess the verdict of the court?
Not time for noise making. It's not time for fighting. It's a time for reflecting, sober reflection, as if I may say that. If I want to take you to memory lane, mind you, we advise few of us, James Ibori, few of us advise President Yaradua, Saraki, and President Yaradua agreed to go to amnesty in Niger Delta. Let me tell you, when we focus solely on Nnamdi Kanu, we have to solve this problem holistically, because there are over 30,000 Igbos that were killed. People that have their shop had no shops. People lost their business. People are just talking about soldiers killed and not the rest of them. There are many people that lost their jobs. There are many people that lost their shops. There are over 30-something thousand Igbos that were killed in this process, and nobody talks about them. The problem of Nnamdi Kanu is what we need to solve. Political process. Not so longer like Biaka Ojukwu and Mascot Uzokalo profounded, I saw in the news, that they should stop the noise, they should focus on the settlement with the federal government. Let me tell you, I have been working with the federal government of Nigeria on how to solve this issue. And nobody should question the decision of Justice Omotosha, because Justice Omotosha's question is the judgment of the court. Once the court says, what we should start looking now, the kind of people are going to appellate court, and we are using the political sides to solve the problem, because this is the area I know. I'll be contacting the Attorney General to advise the President, to advise people who are concerned on how we solve this problem. If you want, I can take you to memory lane. If I want to take you to memory lane, when I wanted to join the APC in 2016, may he so rest in peace, President Buhari, with his Minister of Justice and with the Director of SSS, they found a way and supported, because I told them I won't join the party if Nnamdi Kanu is not released on bail to face trial. If I cannot tell you, but if you say you ask people to keep people, you must face trial. But I wanted him to be in his house, and even they were to release him to my house. I told them no. Where I live is sensitive. Release him to Omaya. We walked. Alhaji Lawan Daura is alive. And my names. Malami is alive. They all helped to make sure that he was released on bail. I can't go further. I know the pressure. May he so rest in peace. I know the pressure I personally put on President Buhari before he was released in April 2017. If people, other Igbos died, nobody's even talking about Igbos that were killed. Nobody's talking about people that own shops that are no longer working. I have my mother's friend that have a rice shop. The woman who owe my mother about 4.2 million naira. They ransacked the whole shops and the woman went bankrupt. And nobody talks about it.
Or the police officers that were killed.
Oh, no, I'm not, because they were mentioned in the court. The court never mentioned 30,000 something Igbos that were killed. The court never mentioned about people that lost their business and run away from their villages. It's not something, don't let me to go emotional here, because it's not something anybody can discuss. A lot of Igbos were killed, Sean. A lot of Igbos were killed. If you don't know it today. Let Igbos stop being emotional. I want us to settle down and go on our knees and find a way that the man can be released.
He has no job. He has.
So I read a comment earlier where I think it's Ifan Ichuku, can't remember the name properly, on YouTube, commented that, from now on, the Fulanis are not his problems anymore. It is the Yoruba politicians and the Yoruba judges. What about people like this guy? Did you just watch that video? Uzokalu is indirectly saying that Nnamdi Kanu is responsible for the death of 30,000 Igbos. That's what he just said on national TV in Nigeria. The Igbos shouldn't be emotional. Nobody's even talking about them. They're not even talking about these people killed. Who killed them? In Obigbo alone, in Imo, in Abia is on Abia there, in Ebonyi, where people have been targeted and killed by the Nigerian authority. I mean, these are public record. So who killed them? Who opened fire on armless communities in the name of looking for IPOB? So who is they that Orji Uzokalu is referring to? He is practically justifying the life sentence given to Nnamdi Kanu, just so you know, by also, putting himself in the picture that he joined the APC because of Nnamdi Kanu. That even though people died and did this and that, I said he should go home so that he can be attending his trial. That is the kind of politicians you have there. And I promise you, 99%, I just want to be fair, 99% of the politicians, they are like that mindset of Uzokalu. We need to go on our knees and beg who? That's the question. You that is not an Igbo person, ask yourself, who should the Igbos go and beg and kneel down for? And what are they going to get in return? Acceptance. No longer being profiled. Now that is Nigeria. That's your reality. So if you are living another alternative reality, well, it's up to you. Information like this gives you an idea of the characters representing every part of that contraption. When they go into a closed-door meetings, discussing Nigeria, now they are discussing themselves or how to profit from your misery. There are many. So if you want to go after politicians as Yorubas, start with the Yoruba politicians. If you want to go after the politicians as a Fulani or as Hausa or as the Middle Beltan, start with the criminals representing you. You realize that the solution will come faster. And if you are an Igbo person, before you strongly feel so angry about the Yorubas, or even the Fulanis, or the Hausas, or any other person that you probably feel so strong about, right? Yeah, you will need to actually use 90% of that energy to go after the criminals representing Igbo land too. Let that mindset begin to be yours, because without them, like us, without our criminals, all the problems we are all kind of like dealing with today, would never have occurred at all if they have had our interest attacked. Nnamdi Kanu is sacrificed. In their mind, maybe we can sacrifice him and get much acceptance. Maybe they will accept us more. But who are the they that they need to sacrifice more Igbos for? Wiriwike orchestrated the killings of thousands of innocent people in Obigbo during the NSAS. It didn't make the news, not really. But there is a record and documented evidence of that. Wiriwike got compensated in the same APC with the Minister of what? Minister of FCT, right? Because he went as far as, militarizing their own election just to ensure that Tinubu gets what he never really deserves in that place. All for what? For a pot or plate of porridge. Plate of porridge. So yeah, the people that are behind the entire killings of the young people in Igbo land are the Igbo criminal politicians, they are your elite, and the rest of them who are doing everything to be loved by Nigeria. And yet, they are still being distrusted. They are always like, you can't trust the Igbos. And I'm like, what? But you do have Igbo governors in APC. You have Igbo senators. You have Igbo this, Igbo that. How do they feel when they listen to you criminals who are like their sewage rats, right? When you say it loud that you can't trust the Igbos, how do the Igbos in APC, how do they really feel? Do they just accept and say, yeah, it's true, you can't trust us? What do you think they have to do to be accepted by Nigeria as equals. Tell yourself the truth. What do you think the Igbo criminal politicians needs to do to make Nigeria accept them as equal, trusted enough to lead Nigeria? Kill more Igbo youth, criminalize them, radicalize them, sacrifice them more so that Nigeria can trust them. The region that lost over 5 million people on a needless ego war. Do you think they've not sacrificed enough? So if somebody says, no, we've sacrificed enough, no more, don't you think those people could be right? In our own case, I believe they are right. Not these rogues that continue to try to, please pick me, and yet they can't be trusted. In Edo State, for some of you who can pretty much remember a few days ago, I know this is like overshot our time. I'm getting used to like just feel comfortable talking because a lot of you just still remained here. Assuming you have left now, I would have been like, you know what, let me wrap it up. It's actually past midnight in Nigeria right now, I believe, right? But this is going to be the last part, okay? So hang on. If you stayed this long watching Maiyegun, don't you think if you have not subscribed to my channel, you should do it now? No? Okay, please. And if you have not actually liked the broadcast, do it as well. It's a reminder. So a few days ago, or pretty much like about a week or two ago, I shared the story of how a supposed YouTuber or vlogger was attacked in Manchester because he was accused of insulting the Oba of Benin. Remember that story? Well, the slapper made a video after that and said, this is my face. I did it. I will beat you everywhere I see you, everywhere. Anyway, he possibly has now traveled to Nigeria. He returned back to Benin as a hero because the APC in Edo State, they welcomed him. For those who understand the genesis of what caused that slap, they were fighting over where should they keep the returned Benin artifacts. Here you get. So the Oba of Benin had a deal that once those artifacts are returned, they will be put into the Benin Museum, which will be renovated by the state government. Okay. So then Obaseki, who was their governor at the time, decided to open a different kind of like a gallery, like a museum, right? Where he called it a MOA. Now, being in power, he used this position to ensure that most of that artifacts were to be returned into that new edifice he built. That created, as usual, bad blood. And it was considered as an insult on the Oba of Benin. So that triggered so many youth that one day they attacked this new edifice, supposed gallery. They attacked it and ordered all the expatriates who were actually at the meeting or the opening. They ordered them out and told them, on the order of the Oba, this place is not officially the Benin Museum. So that controversy created a lot of ruckus on social media among the diaspora Edos, which was why the slap incident in Manchester happened. The factions, those who believed the Obaseki was right and called the bluff of Oba, and those who believed that no matter what, don't ever talk to Oba like that. Obaseki insulted the Oba. Well, the guy returned to Nigeria, that's a long story. And he returned as a hero. They called his slap, digital slap. After that, the Okpe Odoyo, the Dodoyo governor of Edo State appointee, invited him to the government house and gave him an award for being a very, very bona fide, proud Benin man. Let's start with the digital slap, by the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, we want to use this opportunity to launch the how would I put the slab? Digital slab. he gave to one Abatolele.